The King's Speech, an Oscar-nominated film about a British monarch and his struggle to overcome a debilitating stutter, a condition that affects millions of people around the world.
You've destroyed the happiness of my family, all for the sake of ensnaring a starved patient you couldn't possibly hope to assist. It'll be like mad King George the Stammerer, who let his people down so badly in their hour of need. What are you doing? Get up, you can't sit there, get up!
Why not? It's a chair.
No, that is not a chair, that is St. Edward's chair.
People have carved their names on it.
Listen to me!
Listen to you, by what right?
Because I have a right to be, and I have a voice!
Joining me now, two guests who are shedding light on this often misunderstood condition in New York. Chamonix Olsen Sikora, the executive director of the American Institute for Stuttering. And in Washington, Clarence Page, he's a well-known syndicated columnist for the Chicago Tribune, who has battled a stutter for most of his life. Good to see both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, Clarence, let me begin with you, because when you see Colin Firth's depiction of the stuttering, when you saw that, could you relate to that?
I not only related to it, I was sitting there wincing, you know, and silently saying, come on, get it out, get those words out, you know, because I've gone through it. It's that whole profile, I think, was very typical of a lot of us who stutter, and also we all are somewhat unique because everybody stutters differently. But I'm happy to see the whole problem put into the spotlight, and the fact that, you know, it can be dealt with.
When did you start to stutter? And really nobody would know, right, unless they were to hear of you making it very public.
Or if they're a stutterer themselves. Since I came out of the closet, if you will, and started writing about it after the movie came out, I've gotten some wonderfully heartwarming emails and letters from fellow stutterers, fellow sufferers, as I put it. Some of them say, you know, well, I've seen you on TV before, and I detected a little hesitancy, but I had never guessed that you were one of us. I think people who stutter can recognize when somebody else has been dealing with it, because you never really get rid of it. It's like being an alcoholic, you know, you only bring it under control. But as I put it, that beast is always in there waiting to leap out and grab my vocal cords.
So then how have you managed it, if that's the right word?
It was really, I want to thank the public school system where I grew up in Middletown, Ohio. They provided free therapists for me every year through grade school, and also just some wonderful people in my community, my own family, folks in the community, wonderful mentors. I had a speech mentor, Fred Ross, a local lawyer who grew up with a stutter himself and never had any therapy, and he was my coach in a speech contest I was in the 9th grade.
Oh my
I stuttered all the way through. A year later, I re-entered it under his coaching, and he said, come on, you can do this. And I walked away with the second prize trophy.
Oh my gosh.
I'd say I was on my way then.
That was very courageous to be in it in the first place, and then to go through with it again.
Well, I've always been a talker. You just can't shut me up.
All right, Chamonix, let me bring you in with the American Institute for Stuttering. So, you know, help us understand if a child, or if it's, I guess it's first evident to the family that the child is experiencing this, is that, you know, the first course of action to try and address it for a child? Whereas in the movie, you know, the king was an adult before anyone came to his calling.
Yes, well, nowadays it really is important to identify children young. The best chance of recovering from stuttering is when you treat children at a very early age. There's a lot we can do working with parents and doing some therapy with children as young as 2 and 3 years old. It is a different type of treatment that we do at that age than we do with adults. But there's always help. It's never too late.
What are the differences in the treatment or the help?
Yeah, well, with adults, we are working a bit on the psychological aspects of stuttering, as well as physically being able to get words out easier. So although stuttering is not psychological in cause, it's not caused by nervousness, so it doesn't really help to actually say slow down or go a little slower or take your time to someone who stutters. There is this physical component, and we know now that it's neurologically based, and there's a genetic piece for the majority of people out there. So it's something physical occurring in the body. something going on in the brain, actually, possibly a mistiming of messages being sent down to the level of the vocal folds. So it's really a physical problem, not psychological.
So if it is neurological and physical, then is it also hereditary?
Exactly. There are genetic studies that came out this past year. The New England Journal of Medicine published a study just this past year, which did show that in about 9% of people that stutter, there's 3 genes that they identified. So this will hopefully lead us to finding more genes and maybe even changing some treatment approaches.
So Clarence, do you did kind of describe that it is a constant, thing, battle. You try to manage it all the time. Do you also still have the same kind of mentoring or assistance that you did as a child? Do you maintain that as an adult?
Well, I've been luckily able to help mentor some other people and help advise other folks. I'm always happy to do that. And I'm on the board of the American Institute for Stuttering. I really like to give back because I was a kid myself who went through this, and I know what a difference it makes when people take a little time out to help a youngster. And I think what Chamonix was saying there is true, that we all stutter differently, but people tend to react the same way. They say, no, come on, calm down, slow down, it's all right, take your time. And that kind of adds to your anxiety. And I think, for me, the breathing exercises help the most. And I thought that was very accurate in the King's speech.
So what would be your recommendation on the receiving end to people who are listening to someone who is stuttering? They're not quite sure what to do. And as you said, sometimes their reaction might make the stuttering even worse.
Well, yeah, one thing that people need to do is to try to just be patient. My parents learned to just be patient until I got the words out and just speak to me as if there was nothing wrong. Try to reduce the anxiety in the situation. But the therapy definitely helps to work with people who can help you to coordinate all of the complex mechanisms involved in speech, including breathing, vocal cords, the mouth, the hearing. Everything is involved. And if one thing is out of sync, suddenly those words get stuck in the throat. And so it's, and a lot of it's practice. Just keep on talking and keep on practicing, and things will work out.
Syndicated columnist Clarence Page and the director of the American Institute for Stuttering, Chamonix Olsen Sikora. Thanks so much to both of you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.